Each August, hundreds of the world's most promising students pack their bags, make emotional farewells, and head to New York University Abu Dhabi.
NYU Abu Dhabi has been my dream for the past 4 years.
Some cross the globe, some come from just down the road. All are united by ambition and talent. Their experiences here will challenge what higher education can be and shape the future of the world.
One thing that sets NYU Abu Dhabi apart is the willingness of our professors to take our names and catapult them forward and believe in what we're doing.
They got a bunch of really smart, weird group of people and got us to say yes to come into this experiment.
It's building a world where empathy and listening and open-mindedness is so important.
That's what the university is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to teach you to be your own person.
Going into NYU Abu Dhabi and seeing all these abundant culture of the UAE, I was mesmerized.
Having that chance to meet people that I probably would have never been able to meet in my life otherwise if I hadn't come here.
After making so many friends, I would consider Abu Dhabi to be my future home.
Even though you are not Emirati, even though you are not American, just because we believe in your potential, we want you to be here and have the experience of having a great education. That's, for me, is just incredible.
That experience at NYU Abu Dhabi has shaped me as a person, and it's going to have an impact on every little thing that I do in my life.
Now, on the 10th anniversary of NYU Abu Dhabi, we step inside this exceptional university.
My first year back at NYU Abu Dhabi as Vice Chancellor has been enormously exciting and energizing. It requires creativity and thinking through things that you may not know how to do yet.
I'm Al Bloom. I was honored by having the privilege of starting as Vice Chancellor about a year before the university began. There was a sense when you start out projecting to do something which is going to take risks of holding your breath, hoping that we can really find all those students, that the top faculty in the world will come.
There were plenty of skeptics who would ask me, well, how can we really teach everything in NYU Abu Dhabi that we do in New York? I think it's the wrong question. The question is, what can we do at NYU Abu Dhabi that we can't at NYU in New York? And when you flip that lens, all these vistas open up.
The idea of developing an institution in cooperation with NYU and with Abu Dhabi seemed right from the start an amazing opportunity.
My name is Musbah Mago. I'm from Ethiopia. I live in Abu Dhabi, and I'm a member of NYU AD's founding class of 2014.
Hi, can I have character, please?
I'm very happy that Abu Dhabi has become my home. Now I work in the philanthropy sector, but most of my work is related to arts, culture, and heritage.
Thank you. All kinds of people come here, from working class to very wealthy people. It's just one of those authentic places in Abu Dhabi that has retained its character. So I really love it.
When we joined the NYU AD, we felt like we were shaping the university. It was incredible and challenging at the same time. Incredible because we were part of a new experiment. For me, it was completely a different experience.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
In greater numbers than we imagined, they applied that first year. And it takes about 2 days of eating together, talking together, going to museums together, going to the mosque together. You see these kids, all of a sudden they can't imagine that their whole lives they had the sense of the other not being someone that you can really connect to and find empathy together.
Can I try this?
Yeah. I was born in a small village in Ethiopia. We didn't have much in the modern sense of the world, so we didn't have water or electricity or a hospital even or a school. So generally we're surrounded by nature.
Thank you so much. I will come back, yeah? Okay.
During the 4 years that I spent at NYU Abu Dhabi, I changed greatly. First of all, I traveled to over 20 countries, I believe, throughout the 4 years. I met people from all over the world. first week, the football coach, Peter DC, told us, let's have a 5v5 side game in one of the football fields. It was fantastic because it was an easy, natural transition for me. Coach Peter DC has been, an incredible influence in my life and my university experience. But, his generosity and kindness is not just for me, frankly. He has done a lot for, a lot of students.
Lynn, you coming in? We may have portions of time throughout the academic year where the students are going to run into some difficult issues. We've had discussions regarding mental health and supporting each other and how reaching out and asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. We've had discussions about toxic masculinity. We had discussions when you have racism in football and stuff and how we address that. So from time to time, as you know, throughout the course of the year, we have some of our older brothers, older sisters come visit us. And we have the good fortune to have Musbah here with us today.
Well, thank you so much. This football team would not have happened without Coach. If NYU talks about giving opportunity to people, this is where you see it in action. So I love you. Thank you.
He's going to be the proud father of twins.
Now, I work for a philanthropic foundation here in Abu Dhabi, and we invest in arts, culture, and heritage, education, and health. I joined them as an intern, as a sophomore student, and it was a great internship experience. And I learned that, maybe philanthropy is where I could make the most impact. NYU Abu Dhabi's football team is called Musbah FC. There was a time when somebody started chanting my name and then it stuck. I am the most reserved person, so when they chant my name, I'm just running and hiding and, shy and everything.
The more time you spend around him, you see the old saying that still waters run deep. He's quiet, but he's very, very smart, intuitive. The conversations that we had, you realize the depth of his perspective and his understanding. So I think getting to know him, I think, changed me in some ways too. So in 2009, I had a medical battle with cancer for a year. I didn't know what the future held with regard to my health. I didn't know how long I would stay in remission or if I would even get it into remission. And this gave me a second chance to fix some of the things I did wrong the first time around.
This is our home now because we're having twins. We needed a bigger apartment.
This is our living room.
And I think here we have, our wedding picture. And this is probably the only picture I have from my childhood. I remember taking this picture when I was a grade 6 student. So I was about 11 or 12 years of age. At that time, I was living with my uncle, and our relationship was, up and down, My uncle was a very difficult man. He was an alcoholic. The only thing I wanted at the time was freedom, independence. So I think it was a reminder of where I was and how far I have come in life. And so I will treasure this for the rest of my life.
Even now, I'm so emotional. Whenever I heard always, I feel emotional, but I can see he's a very strong man. And yeah, he did it.
Musbah pulled me aside and said, hey, listen, I need to tell you something. And I just sort of knew right away. And I said, you're going to be a father.
It's an exciting time. We're looking forward to being with them. Musbah and Kelly don't have a lot of family close around, so it's almost a little selfish that we get to have them and to experience that.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Coach.
How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Hello, Coach.
Sweetie, how are you?
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
So good to see you. So good to see you. Hey, Kelly.
How was your day? All right?
Yes, it was a busy day.
I just try to be supportive as I can and be there if he has any questions or he just wants to talk through things. He's a good connector with people, so he's at ease talking to people. He's able to make those connections, and those connections allowed him to succeed.
So delicious, my God.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
He had tremendous support, I think, from the university. There's a lot of people cheering him on, a lot of people in his corner. I think the realities of the disparity in wealth, the disparity in opportunity, the fact that some people have privilege where others do not, is something that these students are going to encounter as they leave this university. There's no doubt about that. But for these 4 years when they're living on campus, can we remove those barriers? Can we level things out the best way we possibly can? I'm not saying it's perfect, but we try to take, sort of purposeful steps in order to make sure that everybody can play, that everybody has an equal opportunity.
The faculty of NYU Abu Dhabi are outstanding and innovative researchers, and at the same time, the most committed, dedicated, and passionate teachers. NYU Abu Dhabi has brought into the UAE a liberal arts education, and a particularly innovative one. Every single one of our students completes a capstone project, a very fundamental piece of research that often ends up being publishable.
I'm very, very passionate about what I do, and I find that being a scientist is intrinsic to my identity. We are in the NYUAD zebrafish facility. Zebrafish have been used all over the world for the past several decades because their embryos are small, transparent, and they grow really fast. What's amazing is that by 5 days old, they have all of the organs that we're interested in studying. So we're able to study a disease in this small little larval fish in a way that we couldn't really do in any other system. The undergraduates, when they come in here, they have this wow moment. The noise is really arresting.
Now I find the embryos here at the bottom. So now I'm gonna collect them in the strainer, like this.
I'll take a Petri dish and I'll just flip the strainer upside down and just wash them in. These are probably an hour old, 2 hours old. So you can see that some of them have been unfertilized, but we'll sort them later so they can grow properly.
We expect a lot of our students, and our students expect a lot of us. Really, the students that I've had in class and in my research group are so engaging, and they really think about the material in a very deep way. Kit has this really amazing technique that she's been using for several years, and it's highly applicable to the work that Fatima is doing. And so what Kit and others in the lab have been doing is look at the cells in the liver as they are responding to some sort of a challenge. For Fatima, she has a very, very different question. So she's interested in cells in the liver that are not able to grow normally.
You know when you have like an embryo that doesn't have anything inside of it, and just like the egg or the chorion surrounding? What do you think happened?
I think it's probably an issue with the female. They're not even the same size as normal eggs.
It's not just about doing an experiment and having a eureka moment, and it's about all of the work that takes to have a healthy, functioning ecosystem in the lab. And so I don't compromise on that at all. And I think that that's pretty rigorous.
They were just born quite recently. So we have one unfertilized and one fertilized.
Excellent. So you guys want to give it a try with these embryos? We work as a team. So when an undergrad comes to the lab, it's postdocs and graduate students that spend those long hours really side by side teaching them how to run a reaction or collect embryos.
So these ones won't divide anymore and they won't survive to adulthood.
The hardest thing for faculty at NYU Abu Dhabi, including myself, is letting go of our beloved senior students. But we're very happy to have some of them stay with us either for a summer or even for a full year to get some postgraduate practical training in research.
My name is Tami Georgieva. I'm originally from Macedonia. I am a graduating senior from NYU Abu Dhabi, and I studied biology. I've spent the last 4 years in this place. I really think that 80% of my life experiences have happened during my time at NYU Abu Dhabi. I think it's always really interesting when, with my friends back home, we would talk very predictively about where the world is going, like VR and artificial intelligence and et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes I would just be like, oh yeah, but that's already happening. Like there's someone at NYU Abu Dhabi that's working on that. And I think at that moment, you really realize that you're studying in an institution that is the very cutting edge of scientific advancement and technology. It's really amazing the access to research that we have in this institution. I think even as an undergrad, being able to really be involved in cutting-edge research that is currently really trending in the field is just beyond me. And it's not uncommon. It's not like I've done something special. I'm just the average science student working on a capstone. I will be returning to NYU Abu Dhabi as a research fellow, working on the first genome project in the UAE. It's a project that's led by NYU Abu Dhabi and the Public Health Research Center. We'll be doing a lot of work in genotyping of Emirati population. I will also be working with the Legal Studies Department, looking into genetic regulations in the context of Islamic bioethics. So I think I see an enormous intellectual challenge. How do we even predict where genetic technologies are going to take us in the future, and how do we regulate them in society to make sure that disasters don't happen, and to make sure that we're still valuing one's liberty and right to privacy? I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm really hyped about it.
I got an email from a friend who was working here that jobs were listed, and it was an interesting place, an interesting experiment of students coming from all over the world. And the goal was for us to be a liberal arts institution. When I found out that admissions was needs blind, so that people could come here if they were admitted, regardless of their financial situation, that just is an absolute dream.
Just thinking about what does it look like to write about the middle class by what it's not.
So I think that articulates the problem of maybe there really isn't a literature of middle classness here in the Emirates. Definitely my students had an impact in understanding this place. I didn't want to just arrive here and then put on cultural programming or say, this is me as a poet. It just was a real feeling of, wait, let me hang back. Let me see if I can listen to the city for what it already is.
And then we'll get feedback on that, which we will then revise.
Hi,
Shama.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for coming by.
How are you? I am good. It's good to see you.
I've often said that if I wasn't trained as a poet and a visual artist, I would be an anthropologist. And I knew that about Shama's work as a student, that she was very interested in anthropology and had taken anthropology courses here. Neha is also doing a really interesting project that I'm not sure she would call it poetry. Let's call it poetic prose. But they're both interested in writing the same place, Bur Dubai, Old Dubai, but that they're going about it in this way that is almost documentary in approach. That made me think that they could have an interesting conversation. I know you had a question specifically for Shama. I think you should ask her the question because, you know, no time like the present.
So the question I had, why is writing about the UAE important?
Well, for me, the question wasn't about how can I write about the UAE. It was more, what are the gaps that a work like mine could fill? How can I contribute towards coming at a more nuanced way of telling the story of the UAE?
Writing all of these things down is so
We'll quote you.
Shama, citations. Feel free. Our work is sort of covering lives on both sides of the creek. Right. So I know your work was in sort of Bastakia and that side of the creek, and my family lived basically on the other side of the creek. In Deira side, yeah.
I did interview some families in Deira as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I could show you the poems that were specifically in Deira if you want to.
That would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to read yours as well.
Yeah.
You see the students in classrooms here are really able to do extra projects. If there's a reading I recommend in addition to what's on the syllabus, I find that my students go and do the additional reading. We have our offices in the same places where the classrooms are. We have open doors that students can come and talk to us at any time about a project. Sometimes we as artists even put our own work that we're working on up in our studio offices and outside the walls, so students ask us questions about what we're making. We've had a really wonderful core group of visual arts faculty that I think have dedicated a lot of time and amazing energy.
This is a new institution, so if you wanted the same olds, you wouldn't come here as a faculty or a staff or a student.
I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see more embryos.
I think a lot of people who haven't been to the Middle East before have an image that the Middle East is one thing. We get those questions, oh, you're working there? Can women work there? I think that bias needs to really be sort of broken open, because when we talk a lot about the gender bias in STEM, I think we have that all over the world. Other places I might be valued because I'm a woman first and a scientist second, but I particularly don't feel here like I am anything but valued for my contribution as a scientist.
I think one of the things that really impressed me about NYUAD and the faculty is that what I see in some of my most amazing colleagues is this real willingness to investigate one's own syllabus, the things that you think have to be or should be taught. How can that actually be wider?
I think it's part of NYUAD culture is to be innovative and entrepreneurial in everything we do.
What they want is to have an arc of a story, but we already talked about this.
And it is that, but it's also a cabaret. The thing
Yeah,
is, and
it's
I
a
feel
show,
like
it's a concert.
I've always been very open and eager to connect with people. I just don't think I've found my group, or I found a space where I would feel comfortable in my own skin and in my own body and with my scooter. And I think coming to NYU Abu Dhabi was when this started shifting, because everyone is so different in this environment that I didn't really feel like my difference was bad.
Scotty's got my back, yeah. And if you don't like Scotty, or if you don't have the room for him, then this won't be the end of you and me. 'Cause no one's like Scotty. 'Cause no one's like Scotty.
I just kept on developing into a way where I'm so embracing of my identity fully as like a disabled person, as a, I don't know, a ginger, any kind of thing, you know, that I'm very comfortable in my own skin. So this is something that NYU Abu Dhabi has been such a huge part of. Scotty, come on. Scotty. Can someone please bring my charger? This is nothing you're giving. Now I'm doing this capstone, which is centered so much around the scooter and the movement, and I'm doing these ice skating movements, like the Nancy Kerrigan move. And it's changed my life, yeah. If they don't clap, I don't need anyone to clap.
Or you could just bow and
Or just be like, thank you.
force them into.
Well, thank you. My capstone is a cabaret show titled I Can't Hear You, My Scooter's On. And it's a 30-minute performance piece with a lot of songs, monologues, dialogue with a piano player about the desires for love and human connection and all these complexities that come with in my personal life as a disabled person and just as a person. Tell us a bit about yourself, piano player. So I grew up in a tiny little village in Slovenia called Ptujska Gora with like 200 people and a huge Catholic church in the middle.
A 1, a 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can fly as far as I want to. I can sing as long as I'd like to.
When I came here, I remember it was Marhaba, which is the welcoming week. And I haven't really left Slovenia much before coming to NYU Abu Dhabi, and this was a completely different world. I just fell in love with the way that people were so open and kind, and I just felt immediately at home in this place.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am Professor Yao Nyarko. I'm a professor of economics at New York University. I teach in New York and also in Abu Dhabi. I'm 50-50. I'm what is called a joint professor. We live in a global world. Therefore, I think all of our research, all of our attitudes in life should all be global. First of all, for me personally, it's just fun. Fun to work in different places. And so the first thing that drew me to the Abu Dhabi experiment or the Abu Dhabi idea was just a sense of moving outside of what we are comfortable with.
I first arrived here in February for candidate weekend. Then when I got to campus, I met a lot of international students. So everyone spoke English, but they come from different countries. Everyone was excited to see each other. There were people who never met anyone from Kazakhstan, and I never seen in my life so much diversity. I grew up in a very traditional Kazakh family. Kazakhstan is a former Soviet Union country. In the early years of my education, I went to a very traditional Russian school, and I think in contrast to the education I'm getting now, it was very close to the culture.
It's not a university with a large number of any one particular group. It means that the curriculum, the conversations, the seminars and events are really global. When you're teaching a class in a place like Abu Dhabi, you have a wide range of students in terms of their socioeconomic background. I've had students who have lived in refugee camps, and they come in with a passion, for example, to go back and help their home countries. And you've got as well students who are the children of crown princes. And in Abu Dhabi, in the classroom, there's a leveling effect.
We express our opinions a lot during our classes. We get to know the perspective of students who come from different backgrounds. We understand each other, we understand our historical context, and I say I learn a lot based on this perspective of different students.
The students being on campus for 4 years in that environment, they come out of it and they have a global mindset. Abu Dhabi is very global. You just walk around and literally people from all over the world, you will see them. The way the curriculum is designed, classes, global. Over the 4-year period, almost all of the students will spend a semester or a year in a different campus.
One of the common personality traits among NYU Abu Dhabi students is that we get accepted here as very curious people who want to explore the world. During the J term in Sydney, I met a student who was also from NYU Abu Dhabi and who later became my very close friend. Atoka has this drive that she wants to do very well in life, and I think we shared this. So I'm heading to Japan, and I will be in Tokyo for 2-3 weeks. I will be teaching global economics course that I designed for high schoolers. I will be teaching 4 groups of 10 to 12 Japanese high school students, promoting liberal arts education. But I also wanted to visit my dear friend Atoka here in Osaka.
So when students go to their friends' homes, it is enormously valuable. For me, one of the most important things is just having respect for other cultures. It's good for all of us as human beings to understand the ways other people live.
Thank you is arigato.
Arigato.
Oh, and then my mom probably won't hug you because there's no hugging culture.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, I don't. She never hugged me, so I don't think she'll hug you.
Okay. Hi. Konnichiwa. Dana desu.
Yeah, that's yours.
Oh, wow. Atoka's mother made me a traditional Japanese dress, which is called yukata, that you wear during the summer.
So pretty.
Yeah, you'll wear this.
I was very amazed by the long process that you have to go through to put it on.
They're gonna make it tighter. It's gonna be really tight. That's the norm.
Good. This is perfect. Thank you. No tighter though.
No tighter.
All of those interactions are enormously useful for the student, even for their education, even for their motivation later on in life, even for the kinds of things they're going to be doing research-wise, intellectually. They now go with a friend to a different country. They understand how to be a foreigner, how to be different, and how to negotiate it.
I was the only foreign person. Everyone was dancing in unison, and everyone was teaching me their traditional moves. It was a very wonderful experience that I wouldn't have experienced if my friend didn't take me there.
Not many Japanese people leave Japan, and I'm one of those anomalies that left Japan for the entire 4 years of university. Going to NYU Abu Dhabi and seeing the abundant culture of the UAE, even though it's a very young country, I was mesmerized.
There are stereotypes, there are ideas which are fixed from childhood. Somebody from a different environment comes in and says, hey, why are you guys doing this? Why are you doing this in this way? And then this person would say, you know, I've never asked myself that question. So the diversity actually enhances the education, the liveliness, the spirit of the whole place.
I was always questioning what I wanted to do. I remember when I was doing computer science, I was like, this is perspective, but I hate it. And then I remember crying to my roommate, not knowing what to do, and they were just like, just do what you want. So I didn't really know that I wanted to do theater until I went to my study away in New York. I did a classical studio, which is one of the acting studios at NYU Tisch. And that's when I was really immersed into this acting world.
These are the streets of New York City.
We do reach out and have classes with other people, but we tend to hang out, and there's a genuine excitement when you see someone from NYU AD walking down the streets of New York.
Stop. Wasn't this so creepy?
And it's almost as if NYU is this big envelope, and we've got different pieces within it. New York City, Abu Dhabi, Ghana, Accra, and everybody is just moving between all of them.
When I got to New York City, my director welcomed me to use the scooter in my acting, and I was like, that's so weird. No one uses scooters in acting. That is ridiculous. Because I also fell into this narrative that disability is not welcomed on stage, or that that's something that, you know, maybe you should shy away from. But through that acting experience is, I think, how I really got to own this identity and have it just be a part of me and really embrace it and bring it to everything I do. Real AD is a musical sketch comedy 1-hour piece that NYU AD students create and perform for the freshman year class in Abu Dhabi. But we get to create it and make it in New York. The director of the show told me that I could meet Ali Stroker, the first Tony winner that has ever been in a wheelchair, which is insane, no? We spent an hour together working on some choreography and how to, although I may not be able to do all the movements that other people can on their legs, there's still certain things that I could do and that I can even do better. Her outlook and the way that she approaches the work is still something that I take with me and I use.
3 months later, they're a transformed human being. They want to do something completely different. And so you see how starkly this study abroad program can actually change our students.
For my second study away, I went to Ghana. And then there, what I was doing was that I was studying about development economics.
So I teach a class at NYU Abu Dhabi. It's called Technology and Economic Development. It's the interface of computer science and economics. I teach that in the spring, and in the summer, I invite students to go to my research center in Ghana. The most important thing I want the students to learn or to appreciate is that all the theoretical work we learn in the classroom has real-life impact. There was a student, Atoka Jo, and she was very, very passionate about development and the people in developing countries in Accra. The number of non-Ghanaians is minuscule. The number of people who don't look like the typical Ghanaian, tiny, okay? But despite all of that, and maybe because of her training at NYU Abu Dhabi, she just went out there with a boldness. She understood that, people are actually gonna be impressed that she came in and has a respect for their culture.
I was there doing research at a nearby public middle school, and the teacher only shows up once in a while. And it's because the public school teachers aren't paid well, and so these teachers always have a side job. And so I felt, okay, if the teacher is not coming, I should be the one trying to teach the material. And it's middle school material, I can at least teach basic English and basic math. And so I was helping out with the public school there.
It's very easy to be in what we always call the ivory tower. You just dream up problems that people may have. If you talk to people, if you're on the ground, it gives you humility in your research work.
Before going to NYU Abu Dhabi, I think I was kind of trapped in a box. But then suddenly this lid opened and I was just exposed to the world. I was just exposed to magic.
The benefit for us as professors, people who go and teach there, as we are preparing our classes, it forces us, because we know that our audience is going to be different, it forces us to think about material which will appeal to that audience. And so for us too, we change our views, we change our even ideas, our subject matter, because of where we are and who we're talking to.
Our graduates have become very much coveted by employers here and abroad, as well as graduate schools, where they've developed a very unusual muscle, which is patience to listen to others. Patience to understand not just the perspective of someone else, but the fact that it may be grounded in a reality and a background that's different from your own.
I realized that the mission is very unique. In a sense, they bring very talented individuals to study at one of the top institutions in the world. So I said, this opportunity will not come again, and I have to take part in it.
My name is Alexander McKay. I'm originally from a small island on the east coast of Canada, Prince Edward Island, and I had a couple jumps, and then eventually I've landed here at New York University, Abu Dhabi, where I study mechanical engineering. Prince Edward Island is a pretty humble place, I would say. Family is really important, community is really important.
I taught Alex 2 classes in mechanical engineering. He's one of those students that work very hard, very active in the community of NYU Abu Dhabi and elsewhere. He's keen to learn about other cultures, despite coming from a very small village in Canada.
My mother's family back home are all fishermen. They fish for lobster and bluefin tuna, so I try and make it home every summer to be there for landing day.
Alex is an example of a student that have everything he needs. He just needs somebody to keep inspiring him. I'm an example of somebody who came from a very small town in Palestine, in a very underserved community, and went all the way to become a professor in a top institution.
Being part of a diverse community like we have on our campus definitely teaches you to engage with others who come from very separate experiences from your own and how to try and find common ground.
I believe there are 2 different types of students in their final years. Those that have everything lined up ahead of time and those that they're still struggling to figure out what they want to do. So I found it rewarding to sit with the students and see them coming to my office very worried, anxious, and then leaving feeling a little bit more calm. They have a plan ahead that they can follow so that they can land the job that they want to land.
Looking back in my past 4 years, I think the ability to have those hands-on experiences has really set this apart. Reflecting on being able to do glacier research in Greenland, being able to work in the informal settlements of India, being immersed in the city in Shanghai, and so many more. We're thrown into the midst of it as students here. We're grown into it for better or for worse, and that's how we've learned to learn.
I'm Bill Bragan. I'm the Executive Artistic Director of the Art Center at NYU Abu Dhabi. I've been here since the beginning. I was the first artistic director. So a lot of what we're doing is about opening up a sense of possibility, both for the students on campus, but also for the people in the community who might not have as much exposure to contemporary dance or contemporary theater or more experimental film. So we're constantly trying to look at what's already here, as well as what's not been here. I'm very interested in the idea that the Art Center is putting arts in the middle of a lot of conversations that will reverberate across the campus and across the community.
I am a poet, a practicing artist, a writer, and I graduated from NYU Abu Dhabi in 2018. So when I first joined NYU Abu Dhabi, some people would describe me as shy. I was a lot more reserved, but gradually, as the years went by, there were activities that I think impacted my character.
Shama is a student who I probably started seeing in her freshman year. I remember the first edition of Hekaya, which is our UAE National Day event that's mostly organized around poetry. One of her signature photos from that very first event includes Shama in the crowd, just transfixed and looking at the stage. So to me, to have a young student and you could feel that connection was really important. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 5th annual edition of Hekaya.
I think one of the things on campus that helped me become more confident as a person was the opportunities I had to perform my poetry here at NYU Abu Dhabi, whether they were open mics or rooftop rhythms, which I performed every once in a while as a freshman and as a sophomore. And then later on, I joined Hekaya as a co-curator with Bill Bragan. And as a student representative on the committee, it was a very insightful experience to be choosing other poets and performers to perform in Hekaya. I performed as a poet as well. And I think that having those opportunities on campus, alongside many other things, really helped with building my character.
I watched her and championed her as an artist and as a curator, and I've seen her go on now to creating a professional role working in the arts and education. So it's really exciting to see the role that the Art Center can play in helping to support a local artists' journey.
Now I'm an education specialist at Qasr Al Hassan. I also still make art, and it's been a mission of mine to be part of various artistic and poetic communities in the UAE and beyond.
She got a fellowship from the Sheikh Salama Foundation called SIF, where she did visual art installations. She helped to curate a piece that was in our project space. And also, because she's local and has different kinds of connections, I think has also been a bridge to young Emirati artists or intellectuals from outside the university community to kind of expand our own role. We're not presenting just arts for arts fans, but we want to connect with people who are doing public policy and interested in climate change or the environment or women's issues or refugee issues. And the arts are a really good lens into open conversations that sometimes don't happen as freely.
I feel that one of the most critical quality of our graduates is that they are accepting. They accept others for who they are. Our students have learned throughout the 4 years they spend in NYU Abu Dhabi that these differences don't matter. What matters is what do you bring to the table in terms of your talents, your opinions, your skills.
After leaving NYU Abu Dhabi, I'll be heading to Beijing. I'll be taking on a master's program in global affairs as a Schwarzman Scholar. I'll be joining about 150 students who have been selected from all around the world.
The study away experience is very critical, in my opinion. How can you be a global leader when you don't know the world?
Engineers for Social Impact is a program run through our university here. The second experience I had with Engineers for Social Impact was traveling to Mumbai and working in the largest informal settlement in India, which is Dharavi. That was incredibly eye-opening.
So one reason I came to this institution is because of such programs in which engineers will contribute to the world they live in. And this is very important to instill in the students the idea that engineering is not about you only, it's also about this world that need you. All of them come back with a sense of community because they work together, a sense of belief that they can contribute to the well-being of the world, and sense of satisfaction that probably in their lives they haven't felt.
One thing that sets NYU Abu Dhabi apart is the willingness of people to champion you here, the willingness of our professors to believe in us, and I recognize how privileged I am to be catapulted forward into my career and to the rest of my life after these 4 years here.
So it's really exciting for me 2 years after graduation to be back at NYU Abu Dhabi with a new commissioned piece, a poem called Gharghara.
The type of exhibition that we do is quite different from what you might see, say, at the Louvre Abu Dhabi. It's really a space for learning and discussing and experiencing art that sort of pushes the boundaries a little bit. In the main gallery, those exhibitions are of established artists, creating a dialogue between where we are and the world that passes through here. For the project space, it's in the Art Center, and what that does is it allows emerging artists to have their first chance to show. And Shamal has been a very active part of the arts at NYU Abu Dhabi the whole time I've known her, and to see her poetry in the context of a visual art exhibition was this incredible surprise. I felt like I was getting to know a side of her I didn't know.
In various Arab cultures, if you eat a date, you have them in odd numbers. And I actually write about it here where I say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Dip a fourth in yogurt and you will have to take a fifth if you want to feel like you belong. So I would have 1 or 3 or 5 or 7, and then it goes on to 9, which is way too many dates then. One thing I came to believe and come to terms with after graduation is that home for me is the people that surround me, and so I feel like there are bits of my home scattered across the globe. Once I graduated, I carved an identity for myself that has NYU AD as a big part of it, but also is independent of the university, because that's what the university is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to teach you to be your own person with, of course, a huge influence from everything that I've learned here.
When I first came to the university, I thought I knew more than I did. And so discovering those lessons that are both humbling and empowering has changed me. I was myself dealing with questions of, let's say, identity and belief and skepticism. And so to find that the university could take those interests of mine and provide the framework for me was really inspirational. In the beginning of my second year at NYU AD, I decided that I wanted to be more proactive and integrated in the community. And so I looked for ways to give back. I became a facilitator at the Boys Education Network. I hosted students from middle to high school, and we facilitated discussions. Topics ranged from community development to different notions of leadership to what it means to be masculine. I've come to care more about what my responsibilities are, and so NYU AD, I think, has definitely changed me for the better.
I'm leaving something that was a great privilege to have had for the last 10 years. What's changed is a real certainty that you can produce education of the highest quality. Our students become people who really understand the complexities of the world and can try to negotiate to bring people together across those differences.
Commencement has always been one of my favorite days in the academic year.
Graduating from here is a bit bitter.
That whole chapter of your life is coming to an end is a bit surreal. I think it's gonna hit me at the day of commencement.
I will be full of emotions.
I still feel like in September I'm going back to NYU Abu Dhabi.
It's provided an opportunity to reflect on the amazing experiences that I've had, to look back on the list of countries that I've had the chance to visit.
I'm also very excited to what is ahead of me in the future.
There's obviously a hint of sadness. It shows me that what we have here is a really special connection, and that we really are a community. I had the honor of winning one of the UAE Rhodes Scholarships for the year 2020, and as a result, I was given a grant to study at the University of Oxford for 2 years. And the program which I applied for prioritizes things like inclusive growth, like the creation of institutions that promote social mobility, education, better labor policies. Having spent around a month at Oxford, I have to admit that it's still pretty surreal. Just getting to walk around the city with really old buildings from the 12th and 13th century gets me thinking about all the famous fantasy books that have been inspired by the city. And one thing about the UK is that it rains a lot and it's pretty cloudy. And I'm a big fan of that. So I'm currently doing the MSc in Economics for Development. Looking back, I think there are a couple of professors that kind of pushed me to study economics. One conversation that always sticks with me is with a professor that said something like, if you study economics, think about not going into finance and trying to take in the field as a whole and dedicating time to understanding it. And that first pushed me, I think, to thinking about graduate school, doing a master's and then potentially maybe a PhD.
It is recognizing that graduating from an institution as challenging as NYU Abu Dhabi, often far away from home, is an enormous achievement in its own right that needs to be celebrated. And then it is incredibly important for the families.
They just came like right now, so I'm pretty overwhelmed.
I also love seeing the parents get to know the faculty and interact and thank teachers for what they've given their students. For faculty, this is profoundly meaningful. And the international richness of that experience is at NYU Abu Dhabi unlike any other I've seen at commencement.
This is your first visit to UAE? It is my first visit. I knew I wanted to come for his graduation, so I waited.
I'm actually really excited for my mom coming for commencement because I think part of her still doesn't believe that NYU Abu Dhabi is real. And it's really exciting because it's going to be her first time in the Middle East together.
She's very nice, intelligent, and she's my daughter. Yeah, I love her very much and proud a million times to say.
For commencement, my mom made me a pink kimono. So I really wanted to wear that and kind of represent her on stage as well. Because she wasn't able to go to university, I kind of wanted her in spirit to also be on stage.
My mom is very political. She's actually super active, dedicated her life to charity and trying to make the world a better place. She wanted us always to be very aware. She was never the protect your little girls kind. It was more like teach them how to be strong women.
They share a certain idealism, and so on they go to NGOs serving peace, health, or development in countries and societies that need it, back to their own countries to build up agriculture or food security or work for ministries. Or they go on to international organizations to fight for greater consilience and solidarity among nations, which we need so very badly. And of course, they also go into more traditional industries. But I like to say they do it with a difference. Because what unites all of our students is that they don't just want to do well, they also want to do good.
If I see something and someone will tell me, no, there's no way you can do this, I will be like, say it again? Okay, I'm doing it.
Hey!
An opportunity like NYUAD has just shown me that things can really change in a short period of time, and that not only can they change, but you can change them yourself.
I was always a kind of booky, nerdy kind of guy. And I think what's been nice is it's been finding out people that you fit in with and vibe with, even if you're from completely different two sides of the street.
You're the best.
That's definitely one of the things I've been most grateful about. Having that chance to meet people that I probably would have never been able to meet in my life otherwise if I hadn't come here.
Amal won the Rhodes Scholarship.
Oh, wow. Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah. Wow.
I think there's nothing like NYU Abu Dhabi. I'm gonna cry. Like I'm so grateful that I got this opportunity because it's opened my mind.
NYU Abu Dhabi was the best 4 years of my life. Like telling myself that I don't have to fear risk. I can just go for it. And so that's something that really changed inside me.
I'm happy for them coming here to see where we live. This is a great environment. And I'm happy for my friend. His name is Hero, and he's a really good man. I'm proud of him.
The Anna that came into NYU Abu Dhabi was a bit timid. Whilst Anna at this point, I'm embracing myself with everything that comes with it and trusting that there's a future.
I think the moment when I step on that stage and I receive my degree, probably the overwhelming feeling will be one of gratitude.
Being part of the first class that graduated from NYU Abu Dhabi meant, the world to me because I came from nowhere, and then here I am graduating with my classmates as a torchbearer, and it was incredible. Graduation for me was, I think, the result of, or the fruition of everything that I had been through and everything that I had worked for and everything that I believed in.
It's just pure emotion, and I really can't imagine myself right now if I hadn't gone to NYU Abu Dhabi.
We are happy that we are graduating. On the other side, we are going to miss our friends after some days, so that's kind of a bittersweet moment.
I think the moment when you put the hat on, it's like, oh, I'm a real graduate.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think all of these experiences, now looking back, have shaped me into exactly who I am today, and I'll forever be grateful to NYU Abu Dhabi for that.
It's been a once-in-a-lifetime wonderful experience.
I am definitely gonna cry at commencement. I think everyone's ready to kind of take everything they learned here and put it out into the world, but no one is ready to let go of another family.
Those seconds, once your name is called, will never be repeated in your life.
Tuma Mari.
Hearing my name to call me up on stage for commencement, I'll be thinking of the community that's watching me out in the audience and remembering the people that mean so much to me.
Alexander McKay. Ahmad Al-Gargawi.
COVID-19, needless to say, has come with innumerable losses of many kinds for many people. One of the hardest moments for me in March was to have to tell our graduating class that we could not have commencement in person.
There is nothing I would like more than to deliver this speech facing you, my peers, our friends, and our families. I felt the pressure to concisely put a message to my fellow students. I gave them credit for having changed me in ways that I know and ways that I will never know. Mostly it was a real desire to put a smile on their face, tell them that we're not together. I really feel like we're connected and that we share a connection that is always going to remain unbroken.
Once of NYU Abu Dhabi, always of NYU Abu Dhabi. I think that these students are a tremendous resource to each other. I do not think there's another university on earth that has ever been established that quickly. The 10th anniversary is an occasion for great rejoicing for NYU Abu Dhabi.
NYU Abu Dhabi has been my dream for the past 4 years. And I'm really, really nervous. You can see me shaking right now. Okay, we're gonna check. I'm going to cover my screen. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
No class is ever the same, and I always can't wait to see how they will change us by being with us.
Oh yeah.